Okay, so welcome to anyone that is joining us right now. So I'm Dean, one of the literature teachers. We've got Julie in the background there as well.
Hi.
So you might have heard there, she's not feeling too well, so Julie's going to be helping us with some of the questions when her voice does it. So thank you for those that are joining. We're going to wait just a little bit, give people time to join us. We're not going to start taking questions just yet. Oh, the numbers are surging this time, I like it. While we wait for people then, just to point out, if you kind of hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen, so for the people attending, you'll see a Q&A function at the bottom. You can start popping your questions straight into there for us. If you've got any questions, any burning issues already, pop them into there and we'll start talking our way through those throughout the session. So rather than the chat function, if you can pop anything you've got into the Q&A at the bottom. So we've got 21 people.
That's good.
Okay. So, so those that are just joining us, I'm Dean, one of the literature teachers, and we've got Julie Ashmore, who's the course leader as well on the call. What I'll do is then I'm going to talk us through a little bit briefly about what the course is. And as you're thinking of questions like you would on open evening, you can start popping them into the Q&A down at the bottom. We've already got one of each, so I'll start there. We do literature with the OCR exam board. So one of the first things that we do, we go with Twelfth Night, so Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. And the idea is this is moving away from all of the tragedy that you've done at GCSE. So you've looked at Romeo and Juliet, you've looked at Macbeth. So we're introducing comedy to it. And the main thing here is we're moving away from just the book. We are looking at this piece of drama. So we're looking at how does this look on stage? How are we seeing comedy in it? So that means that we actually get to look at several different versions of it. And that's going to be a really important part of your assessment. So that is on the exam. The next thing we move on to, we've done this to kind of help you move from GCSE to A-level. This is our first piece of coursework. And we're going to be looking at war literature. So a lot of you have done the anthology, you've looked at Power and Conflict. And so we've introduced a 1,000 word essay. So it's one essay for 1,000 words, analysing a single poem on war. So Julie and I will be teaching you a small selection of war poetry, and you will write an analysis of one of them looking at conflict. So because you're so familiar, number one, with the skills of that, and number two, with kind of the area of that, kind of war poetry, how conflict's being presented, it's a really lovely transition from GCSE to A-level. It makes that jump a little bit easier. So that's the first piece of coursework that we'll introduce you to. As we move through, then the next big topic is our genre-based exam. So this is dystopian literature. So a lot of you will be familiar with dystopia, thinking Hunger Games. We look at Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale and George Orwell's 1984. So again, you might be familiar with those authors. You might have looked at Orwell's Animal Farm, for example, and you'll know a lot of the issues we're thinking of here, things to do with politics and the like. But this part of the exam, like I said, is dystopian lit. And across the 2 years, and it's really worth stressing that you've got Julie and I for 2 years. And part of that is it takes 2 years to really get to know that genre in detail. So we'll spend a lot of time, not just on those two, as my lights go out.
That's the Halloween moment, everybody.
Yeah. Can Julie take over briefly while I get some light?
I can take over there. So yeah, we really get to grips with the dystopian genre. You'll be encouraged to do lots of wider reading around the genre, and the better prepared you are. The more widely read you are for that, the better prepared you are for the exam. And then what we intend to do is just before the summer holidays, you'll do your second piece of coursework, and that's comparing a play and a novel. A focus there on identity. We're looking particularly with an LGBTQIA slant. So we really try and cover a wide range of issues and ideas, politics in dystopia, conflict through the poetry, comedy and identity through Twelfth Night. And then we'd hope to wrap that coursework up so that the second year is all really exam focused. And then there'd be only one thing left to do as we come into the second year that would be new, and that would be our comparison of Ibsen's A Doll's House with Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost, which the second years are doing at the moment, and they are really, really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying teaching it again. It's one of my favourite aspects of the course. And hopefully you can hear from that there's a lot of time then to go back and revisit our exam texts, because, like I said, for that dystopia, there needs to be a lot of understanding of the wider genre. So we look at a lot of extracts from other texts as well. So that's kind of the course in a nutshell. I don't know if you have got other questions. It's a closed book exam, but honestly, you don't need to worry. You will know those texts so well that you don't need to worry about remembering quotations in the exam. We never have students come out and say that they've worried about that. And the lessons are very discussion based. So your prep is to read the stuff beforehand so that we can, in the lessons, have that time to debate the ideas that are within them and do lots of analysis. And there is a question. What have the past grades been like for English literature? Good, really good. In order to take lit, you just need a 4 in lit or lang GCSE. More importantly, you need to really like reading and debating ideas. So yeah, we have 100% pass rate, and we have had for the last few years. Last year is obviously, steer clear of that one a little bit. Yeah, we get good grades. I'm an examiner for one of the papers, so that stands us in good stead. And I think, Dean, you would have been an examiner this summer if there'd been an exam for the other paper. So, Dean, do you want to do the difference between lit and lag for A level?
Yes. Well, do you know what? I'm going to tackle Olivia's question as well, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, good. Sorry.
So I'll start with Olivia's question. So that is kind of what subjects does it go well with? So I think first and foremost, I don't want anyone to think they have to choose between literature and language. I think you've had a mixed experience at school, often where it's the same class, it's the same subject. If you want, and yes, it is taking up 2 of your 3 subject choices, they do go very well together, because actually at A level, they're very different. And now I'll explain the difference. So like Julie said, obviously, we're concentrating on text. So we're looking at the literary form, we're looking at poetry, we're looking at drama, we're looking at prose, novels. And we're looking at how those are kind of representing society in the times they're written. We're looking at ideas to do, like if you've watched Julie's video, for example, on the website, she talks about these texts as being the vehicles to other subjects. So we have to look at, we do dystopia, we have to look at politics. So we have to think about those political issues. There is a historical backdrop to all of these stories. So if you do have an interest in history, it goes really well with it. Julie picked up on the topic that we're doing right now in second year, Paradise Lost. Now, this is based on the story of Genesis, the Bible, so there is religious and philosophical concepts going in there. So there are lots of traditional subjects that it goes with, history, philosophy. A lot of students choose law to go with it because of the skills that we're achieving. Similarly, things like media, because it's often a GCSE alongside that in a department, go brilliantly, as with film. But I think the one that surprises people, and Julie will agree here, we actually have a lot of people who go on to do things like medicine. So alongside your chemistry, your biology, your maths, because of the skill set we are developing, we're looking at kind of that empathetic approach. So can you identify and think of people and the emotions that you're expressing? But the difference to language then is language is looking at language in action. So language that's around you. So that might be to do with kind of the language I'm using right now to talk about these subjects. So you might actually look at speech. You might be looking at newspaper articles. You'd be watching kind of the speeches that are being delivered by Obama. They've just looked at and analysed Trump's latest conversation and speech, kind of the debate that we've had over there. So you're looking at language as it's happening and as it's developing around you. So I would say it's a much more scientific analysis of English, because you're going to be kind of unpicking the building blocks of it. It's less so the kind of historical philosophical ideas that we do. It's about how kind of does society form language, which is why you'll end up looking at things to do with language and gender, language and power, accent and dialect. So how is that everyday use of language working? And if you kind of want to know kind of more detail, Paul will be back on at 6 o'clock to talk about English language. So it's definitely worth coming back to find out kind of the ins and outs of that course in more detail from him.
Do you want me to do this next one? So both exams, first of all, are at the end of the second year, although you'll do plenty of exam practice as we go through the 2 years. What would you recommend doing to prepare for lit? You know, a few years ago, I would have just said, read, 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 read. And I'm not going to change from that, but I'm aware that that not many people read as much as they used to. And I say that because my daughter is on the course. She's 17. She used to love reading when she was younger, but it's just she doesn't have time to read as much. But when she does read, what she's interested in are the ideas around it. So we'd love you to be kind of reading something every night, because for me and Dean, that's just like, it's weird if you go a day without reading something. But the texts that we study are always vehicles to help us understand the world we live in now. So even when we're looking at the Civil War, as we understand Milton's Paradise Lost, we're thinking about divisions within our own country. Look what's just happened in the news between kind of the North and the South with Andy Burnham. And it doesn't matter which part of the political spectrum you come from. It's about being a bit clued up about your world. So just be a bit switched on and get your news sources from more places than TikTok, and read as much as possible. If you're talking about more specifically a reading list, then if you watch some of the videos that are there on our site, then you can see the specific texts that we would recommend that you read in preparation. And don't worry about spoilers. All you need to do is know that you're going to be reading those texts over and over. So it's not about spoilers at this stage. Do you want to do the careers one, Dean?
Yes, we've got a question about kind of what careers might English lead to. So I think a lot of people come in, don't they, thinking it's this old-fashioned subject. I do English, I can only be an English teacher. Yes, it makes you these brilliant English teachers like Julie and I, but it opens these doors to other subjects. A lot of people don't realise that English is actually one of the key classic subjects, because like Julie's hit upon, it's a melting pot of a subject. It's not just about we read books, because yes, we do, but we are thinking about the political issues in those books. So our students go on to study politics. They go on to be the speech writers for politicians because they are switched on. They can analyse situations. But what skills are we achieving? Our students have to be able to look at these texts, and for example, in dystopia, more than one, because they're comparing them, and they have to be able to evaluate that evidence. They have to be able to put it together and see patterns evolving. So actually, that's kind of a scientific way of approaching things. So our students might, like I said before, want to study medicine because that's a skill set that they don't ordinarily have. But I think a good one that, again, to think about is maybe coupling it with something like business. I think, what do you encounter every day in your life? You have adverts, you have marketing. Who better to sell something to you than a student who can use language? You've studied it, you can express your ideas really well. You're the best person to sell me a product then, because you know how to motivate me, how to persuade me, what devices to use. You've seen them elsewhere, now you can use them. So yes, the traditional one is go and do an English degree, become an English teacher. But actually, it's a gateway to so many others because of the skills that we're going to be teaching you to do.
Yeah, I love this question. What are your favourite topics to teach? I hope Dean doesn't mind me saying this, but we're proper nerds about our subject. We love teaching all of it, and one of the things that our students say is they love our enthusiasm for it. And it depends on which aspect. So this week I've been teaching Paradise Lost, and there's a great bit where Satan, having tempted Adam and Eve with the apple, he goes back down to hell, and he's just like stood there in front of all the other fallen angels, and he's given this big speech about how he did it. One, I'm paraphrasing here, but he more or less says, and you'll never guess how I did it, guys, with an apple. I know, yeah, you'll be laughing. And just as he's like literally high-fiving himself and thinking that he's great, and he's waiting for them all to start cheering, he's met with this resounding hiss, because at that God has chosen his moment. God's like, I'm going to wait, I'm going to get you back. And just as Satan's like, we did it, we ruined Adam and Eve, it's like, oh my, they've all been turned into snakes. And just as he realizes that, his arms get stuck to his sides, his legs get entwined, and he smacks the floor on his belly, and he's a snake as well. And it's just perfect, you know, this and all of that is presented in this epic poem. So basically, I get excited about lots of different things, and even if you didn't think you could be excited about a 17th century poem about God, our enthusiasm will carry you along. But yeah, I love the dystopian stuff as well, because of all of the debate that's behind it. And if I ever say to my students, and I'll say it's lesson 4 on a Friday, and I'm like, right, okay, we've got this planned, but then what do you want to do? And they'll go, debate. We want to have a discussion. Let's talk about, because that's the thing I think they've really liked at GCSE, but maybe not just not had enough opportunity for. Not the teacher's fault. You've got a lot to get through at GCSE, but it's the thing that they really love is debating it. So I hope that's answered it from me. I don't know if that's the same for you, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, I think Julie hit, I think as the course goes on, you remember how fantastic the bit is that you're doing. So like Julie, I'm teaching second years, I'm doing Paradise Lost. And I keep reminding myself, oh my God, yes, I know what's coming next. I can't wait for the students to get there because I know how ridiculous Satan's going to look. But I think if I had to kind of pinpoint one, it's definitely dystopia. I think we spend so much time reading dystopia ourselves so that we can provide you with opportunities. It's always nice to come across new ones. So I think we're always sharing them. I read one over the summer that's a text in translation. It's a Japanese text, dystopian. It was so interesting to see one kind of a different culture, how they would interpret this kind of miserable future. Was it the same? Is it slightly different? So Julie kind of said it, we're a bit geeky when it comes to this kind of thing, because like I'm teaching it because I enjoy it, and that sounds really selfish, but that's why I like my job, because I love talking about these books, because we've picked them because we can talk about them enthusiastically. We haven't picked one that is the easiest to do. Paradise Lost is not the easiest text to do, but our students nail that exam. And part of that is because Julie and we understand it, but we can convey that to our students, and we just really enjoy it, and that affects you coming to the lesson. Our students still come to the last lesson on a Friday because they like coming and talking about it.
I think you should be reassured as well that within all of that, we do what you might consider a fair bit of like old-fashioned teaching. So with the first year starting with 12th Night and the second year starting with Paradise Lost, those could be hard texts to access. So we don't just kind of go, right, go off and teach yourself 12th Night. We're going to do a bit of old-fashioned, let's go through it together. I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel, there's loads of little videos of me just going through with the visualizer, as we're highlighting the books together and annotating them. And the students love that. But we do a nice balance. We'd never do like an hour and a half of annotation. We'd do 20 minutes, and then it'd be like, what have we looked at? How can that lead to a discussion? So don't feel like you've got to come in ready to be these next kind of level. You know, we know that you're not doing a degree. You know, we help you get there. So back to Sophia's question then, you just need a 4 in English and a lot of enthusiasm. And yes, English literature is absolutely imperative for journalism. We have a lot of students who go on. Sunderland's quite a popular destination for journalism degree. It's got quite a good one. And we have students who are already writing for journalistic degrees. Remember our lovely Lucy, I don't know if you saw, but she's writing for the NASCAR magazine again. And Lauren, who's in second year now, she's writing for a motorsports blog. So, you know, it's not only, you know, students are doing it now, never mind like in the future. So yeah, definitely good. And should you watch the text before reading them? Like, why not? The 1984 film isn't great, if I'm honest. The only caveat I would say with that is the Handmaid's Tale series that was on Channel 4, because once you kind of, it does deviate from the book, but I kind of trust that you're clever enough to know the difference. You know, you're not daft, are you? Anything that helps you think about the text in a different way. You know, for Twelfth Night, we'd say watch as many versions as you can so that you understand it better. As long as you're not doing it as a substitute for reading, then that's fine. That was me stopping there. Will you both teach me? Oh.
You can live in hope, I suppose.
Don't be fooled by Dean and his nice. In fact, I'm cross with you, Dean. What's this Japanese book? I want to read it now. What was it called? You didn't tell me.
No, I like the name of it. Oh, The Memory Police. There it is. It just comes
Memory Police. All right. Usually you just have one of us. At the moment, we just have one shared second year class, and that's because there's like a kind of, there's a lot of trust that needs to be built up in a literature classroom, because we do end up discussing quite kind of sensitive topics, and we want everybody to be on board with that and for no one to feel self-conscious or uncomfortable. I had a lovely moment where after a break I walked into a lesson, there was a girl missing from her seat. I thought, oh, where's she gone? But she was at the front of the class and she was organising a group chat with everybody, and I think like that kind of, I love that, because it means the students are A, making really good friends, and B, then they end up helping each other. If there's a bit of homework and they're not sure, group chat, helping each other with ideas. So on the whole, no, you would just have one of us, but we don't know, because timetables change.
So should I take one or two of
Yeah.
them? So contact time wise, that is same across college. You will always get 5 hours of a subject in college. So that includes 2 1.5 hours and 2 single lessons. And like Julie said, the good thing with us is because we are based upon the text, we can have a variety of lessons in any given week. So that might be one lesson looking at and actually examining the text itself, through to, in the last couple of weeks, we've actually introduced our students to lectures from Oxford. So these are kind of very kind of intellectual undergraduates at degree level lectures. But Julie and I had our notes under the visualizer, and we're really helping students get to grips with it. So I think one thing to really know is that we've set our standard high, but we are working hard to kind of scaffold every student that we have up to that top. So yes, you come in with a grade 4, but we're still aiming high with you, because like Julie said, we know how clever the students that are coming here are, no matter what grade they've got. Because if you've got a passion for English Lit, that's what starts to come through. And because you're dropping away from kind of the 10 plus subjects at GCSE to 3, you can really kind of work with us and focus on that, and that will help you do it. There's one there about kind of extracurricular, the question, sorry. At the moment, obviously, there are kind of little to no extracurricular ideas going on, but we do have that creative writing that's run by Paul, English language, but Julie's done in the past a dystopian book club. Again. Sorry, not moving enough. The classroom thinks that you're not here. This is very Halloween-esque, isn't it?
It is. It is. My little boy at this moment would be doing his ghost. Ooh. He's 15. It's embarrassing. He's not. He's 2. Yeah, so we do try and run clubs. I had a Dystopia Wider Reading Club, but the COVID ruins things. So hopefully by the time you lot come, those will all be back in place. And then these two kind of link together. Will English language be just as suitable for journalism? Yes. And could Lit and Lang lead to separate careers, or would they lead to the same ones? Yes and no. As in, I guess anyone who's coming in who knows they want to be an English teacher, you know, they've had that great English teacher at school, and like, that's what I want to do, I would definitely say do both. Or if you want to be a primary school teacher, do both, because not only are you going to be teaching your subject through novels and through fiction, but you need to know the grammar and stuff, more so for primary than secondary, weirdly at the moment. Um, so it depends, there's, because not a lot of centres always offer English language, you can still get onto like a linguistics degree from a lit A level. It really depends how specific you want your kind of career to be. Can you join the clubs even if you don't end up taking it? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And are there any trips? Oh, don't you make me cry. I had the best trip ever planned. It was a London trip. We were going on the train. We were going to see Twelfth Night at the Globe. We were going to do a walking tour of Milton's London. We were going to go and see another show, just something good. What else we were going to do? Oh, we were going to have a university visit, and we were going to stay at the Premier Inn, and it was going to be brilliant. But COVID's a ruiner. So yeah, as much as we can, we try and do trips, even if they're just to see the plays that we're studying. Because trips are good. Trips help us all bond, and they give us a richer experience of our subject. So yeah, COVID willing, I will take you somewhere.
And we've had great trips, haven't we? So we were lucky enough to go a couple of years ago to Newcastle to not just watch the play, but the students got to work with the director. And this is Royal Shakespeare Company. This isn't just a local little kind of Amdram group. So this is the Royal Shakespeare Company working with our students, helping them understand the play, getting them on stage with the actors. And it was, I think I've never seen our students walk away like, oh my God, that was amazing. So even the ones who felt at first like, oh, they were finding it quite hard, loved it. And that's what we want. I think don't underestimate, if you are just passionate about a subject, how that will affect how you perform in it, because you'll want to go to the lessons, your attendance will be better, and attendance really affects how well you do.
Yeah. And
So,
yeah, we do get we've got good attendance at the moment, even through COVID, haven't we? Like students, because they don't want to miss that debate that's in the classroom. Would lit work well for psychology? Yes, absolutely. And we get a lot of students who have that combination. Even though we don't encourage you to look at the characters as real people. My lesson yesterday was doing exactly this. I was like, look, someone said that Sin and Death, who are characters in Paradise Lost, are more human than Adam and Eve. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. What and why is that? And we kind of got to the fact that we understand their motivations more than Adam and Eve. So we get into the kind of psyche of Satan as well, and how he's really annoyed at his dad. You kind of take it to that level. But yeah, the psychology behind the texts we've studied, and the kind of movements that are happening in psychology at the time. So you look at like kind of Freudian movements as you're looking at some texts. So yeah, definitely. I'd say lit psychology is loads of our students definitely do that.
well, I can definitely recommend it. My degree is in English and psychology because
Yeah,
we work so well together. Because, like Julie said, you're constantly looking at what motivates a character. How does that change their reactions to it? What could be going on in there? That's kind of led them to that kind of behaviour. So they do go hand in hand. Yes, there's some much more science over in psychology, but again, skills based. We are learning you how to express your ideas really sharply. And a lot of that's what you're going to do in a psychology exam. You've got to be able to pinpoint arguments, evaluate sentiments. So skills as well as some of those wider, bigger kind of readings of texts are going to come in great.
yeah. It literally makes you cleverer, makes you smart. It is challenging as a subject, but it's enjoyable as well, and not just because of like our enthusiasm, but because you start to, it, there's a real pleasure in knowing that you've studied a text like Twelfth Night, like Shakespeare. You're like, yeah, I can really get under the skin of this. Does Lang work better with psychology than lit? Um, they would both work. I guess in language you've got things like child language acquisition. or if you're looking at whether there's a difference between the way men and women use language, that kind of comes into issues to do with psychology as well. So um, it fingers crossed, next year we can have bridging, and that's going to be the best way to experience those subjects. But like Dean said, please don't feel like you've got to choose between them. They're very different subjects.
And again, so Paul's on at 6 o'clock for English language. So maybe pose that same question to him, and
Yeah.
because he will know kind of in more detail as course leader for language, those links to that subject. But like Julie said, both of them work brilliantly. And mine was a lit degree with psychology, so I can certainly speak for that. So hopefully, it looks like
we're on 5:30. I don't know if we have to stop. If anyone's got any last minute questions.
I mean, what I will say is then while we wait, if you need to, or if you want to, you've got any more burning questions, follow us, the English department, that's literature and language on Instagram. So that's kind of like QE_English. And you can drop us questions there and we'll get back to you. You can email the college directly for those questions. I want to go into a career in environmental science, but I love English. Do you think it'd be... Do you know what? I would say as long as you know the prerequisites for environmental science, so that might be geography and or geology, and it might be something like biology, then if you've got those two subjects that allow you to get into it, but you love English, then yes, it's a great third, because do you know what? You have to apply with 3 grades, and if you love it, you're not going to feel like you're trying as much. You're just going to enjoy being here and probably therefore get a really good grade. So as long as you can do the geographies and the sciences to get you onto that course that they will require you to do, do English and just have this that extra kind of sets you apart as well. Think about what kind of is your passion, because you're going to have to sell that to universities. And if English is part of it, do it, develop it.
I tell you what, the latest trend in dystopian fiction as well is environmental dystopian fiction. Margaret Atwood is a massive environmentalist. She, so her latest dystopian books, although we do study Handmaid's Tale, if you're reading the Mad Adam trilogy, Year of the Flood, Oryx and Crake, they're environmental dystopians. That's an increasing trend as well. I was going to say something else then, but it's escaped me. Yeah, Dean's right. That was it. For all of these questions where you're thinking, could I do this? Could I do that? It wouldn't take you long just to look at the degrees you're interested in and check whether they want just UCAS points or subject specific grades. And that could really help you decide which are the best subjects to take. My voice is definitely going now, is it? It's going to be fun trying to teach tomorrow. I might have to learn sign language overnight.
Okay, so it looks like then, I think we start wrapping up now then. So if you need to, don't forget, you can email us. Our emails are on our subject website, on the website, college website. You can follow us on Facebook. And don't forget, if you haven't already applied, I've been reminded to do this. If you haven't already applied, you can do that on the college website. So qeliz.ac.uk.
And then you get to hang out with me and Dean for 2 years and read books, and it's great.
So it's the place to be. So we thank you so much for attending on this. It's been great to see so many people on there. We're always here if you've got any more questions, but it's been lovely to speak to you in some way. I'm sat in a classroom just staring at a camera, but it's been nice to meet you. So yeah, it's been lovely.
Enjoy your half term.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. See you guys.
Thank you for tonight.
Thank